Hey everyone, Kris here to talk to you about all things D23 from last night's presentation. And what I want to get into with all of you is what I think so many people are excited about, the X-Men casting. We have more X-Men announced, and it's some people that I know you all have been wanting to join this franchise, but there's also some folks in here who get me personally incredibly excited about where X-Men is going to be going. So let's get into it. We, of course, already knew going into this that Sadie Sink was Jean Grey. The worst kept secret on the internet, as far as I'm concerned. Going into Brand New Day, we all were like, yeah. So Sadie Sink came out and she helped introduce the rest of these cast members. We, of course, had Kit Connor come out, who's already been announced as Cyclops. We had Samara Weaving come, who is Emma Frost. And oh my gosh, she kind of like method dressed too. She came out in this really great white number. She's going to kill it in this part. But then we got some new folks in the mix here. We got Christopher Abbott as Professor Charles Xavier. We have Indy Neveready as Rogue. I know you guys are excited about that one. And then we also have Maya Boyd as Storm. And capping it all off as our big bad is going to be Adam Driver as Mr. Sinister, which is great. But he also used his civilian name. So I'm wondering how much of the transformation we're going to see. Transformation. So I'm wondering how much of the transformation we're going to see from that Nathaniel character into Mr. Sinister. I think it's so smart to have Adam Driver be your big name attached to this. Sadie Sink obviously has quite a lot of, fame behind her, and she's been in some critically acclaimed things, but I don't know if she's quite a household name for a lot of folks, the way Adam Driver is, Academy Award nominated, been in so many things, been in so many franchises. He's also an actor who can play big and isn't afraid to play big. So I think having him as your really Sinister, to be apropos, villain works so well. Mr. Sinister is wild. He is obsessed with Cyclops. He is obsessed with mutant genetics and is constantly performing really messed up experiments on mutants. So I think this is a great villain to bring in here. I've talked about this on my podcast too, of if we've already established the X-Men as the other by making Jean so villainous in that Spider-Man film, you already have a nation, a world that feels like mutants are dangerous. And if we've already othered them, how do other people feel about them being experimented on, contained, all that kind of stuff? So I think it's really smart, and having a big name for that character makes sense. Now, bringing in other folks who aren't necessarily at that household level yet, this is all I've wanted. You guys know that I have been clamoring for unknowns, particularly people with musical theater backgrounds. And it might sound weird, but it worked for Hugh Jackman, didn't it? So that's why I'm so excited about Maya Boyd as Storm. So this gal, straight out of college on Broadway, she was Juliet in & Juliet. She was in Merrily We Roll Along. And I love that we have somebody with tremendous acting chops playing Storm. And the other interesting thing about this is Maya is 20 years old. So Storm is going to be a contemporary of Jean, of Scott. And so we're going to have her be one of the gifted youngsters. Storm's age kind of has varied throughout her portrayals. Sometimes she's a mentor, sometimes she is a mentee. I think this is really lovely because it can kind of cement in that sister bond we have with Jean and Storm, particularly now knowing what happened to Sarah in Brand New Day. So I love that dynamic. And again, I love that we're bringing in an actress who clearly has chops, but isn't known to most people. So that's really cool. And her age also makes me excited about the longevity of this franchise. Speaking of age still. All right. Our Charles Xavier, Christopher Abbott, and I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with his work. He was on Girls. The thing I most recently saw him in was The Crowded Room on Apple TV. He played a lawyer who's kind of a bit of a shithead, which is really interesting because I always think of Charles as, very gregarious and caring, but in the comics, he can do some messed up stuff. So you do need somebody who's dynamic. And Christopher Abbott is only 40 years old. So this is placing him closer to the age of, Emma Frost. So instead of having this kind of old man figure who's been really paternal to most of the gifted youngsters, we're having somebody who's younger. And I think that's very interesting so we can see where this franchise is going to go. 40 means he is in this for quite a long time. But it also makes me wonder, how are we handling our Magneto? This has been something that I know a lot of people have been concerned about going into X-Men. Magneto, canonically, typically is, a victim of the Holocaust. His powers kind of ignite when he's being separated from his family. How do you do that character, though, a character who was alive in the 1940s, and have them be in modern day times? Now, there are some different ways that comic book wise we've gotten around this in the past. We've had some things where because he is the master of magnetism, he can actually control the oxidization. There's that word. Public school, guys. He can control the oxidization of his blood, and so he can make sure that he stays younger. Now, does that make him too much like Wolverine in this kind of immortal body? Maybe. The other thing we have here is, do we move this up to a different, modern day horror? Do we make this a more recent kind of genocide or cultural war conflict that he was a part of? I don't know if that's the answer, and I'd love to hear from you guys. How do you update Magneto, or do you? Do you just make him old man Magneto who's just been being able to cleanse that blood? Very interested to see how you guys feel about it. And also, if he is super, super old, or if he's around Charles's age, are we going to get any of the Magneto rogue stuff? I hope not. Works for X-Men 97. I don't think it's going to work here. But let me know your thoughts on this casting. Really exciting stuff, and I'm pumped. I'm pumped to see what X-Men are going to do. So let me know how you feel about it.